My name is Verda. I'm 28 years old. They told me I'd be a broke failure. They told me my dream of playing video games for a living was a pathetic joke, a childish fantasy I needed to outgrow. They said it with these smug smiles at family dinners, with condescending little laughs over the holidays, and with disappointed sighs in our own home. For years, every single word was a weight, a tiny crack in my own self-belief. So you can only imagine how my jaw hit the floor when, not even a full week after I won a multi-million-dollar esports championship, my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with my mother's name. A small, naive part of me hoped it was the call I'd been waiting for, a real, heartfelt apology. But it wasn't. It was my family, calling to ask me to buy them a new house. It's funny how clear the past gets, once the future you fought for actually shows up. Looking back, the signs were always there. My family never really got me. They lived by this very specific, traditional blueprint for life. You go to school, you get a safe degree, like accounting or law, find a respectable 9-to-5 with a pension, get married, buy a house, and repeat the cycle. Anything outside that blueprint wasn't just different, it was wrong. It was a failure before it even started. My passion, my obsession, was competitive gaming. It started when I was a kid with a beat-up console my dad bought at a garage sale. But for me, it was never just a pastime. It was like a language I was fluent in. Where other people saw flashing lights and button mashing, I saw strategy, patterns, and a level of mental chess that was more thrilling than anything I'd ever known. The game that got me, the one that would change my life, was a team-based tactical shooter called Vanguard Protocol. It was all about precision, communication, and outthinking your opponents on a split-second basis. I lived and breathed it. My family, though, saw it as a disease. Their mockery wasn't loud at first. It was subtle. It was the eye rolls from my older sister, Melissa, whenever I'd get excited explaining a new strategy. It was my dad walking past my room, glancing at the screen, and just shaking his head with a little disappointed sigh. My mom would just offer that weak, placating smile that never reached her eyes, the one that said, "I love you, but I wish you were different." The real turning point, when quiet disapproval turned into open ridicule, was Thanksgiving when I was 19. I just dropped out of community college, which had already caused a huge rift in the house. I was trying to balance a full-time course load with a brutal practice schedule, and I was failing at both. I had to choose. I chose my dream. We were all at the dining table, the air thick with the smell of turkey and tension. My Uncle John, a guy who measures success by the size of your mortgage, turned to me with a forkful of stuffing in his hand. "So, Alex," he boomed, making sure he had everyone's attention. "Now that you're done with college, what's the big plan? Still playing those little computer games?" The table went quiet. I felt a dozen pairs of eyes on me. I took a breath and tried to sound confident. "Actually, yeah, I'm trying to go pro. There are tournaments, teams. It's a real career now." A beat of silence, and then my cousin, Austin, let out a sharp laugh. Austin was the family's golden child, pre-law, at a top university, the living embodiment of their blueprint. "A real career?" he scoffed, wiping a tear of laughter from his eye. "Dude, you're gonna be the next Mark Zuckerberg, right? Except from our basement, and without the billions." The table exploded in laughter. Not just chuckles, but deep, belly-aching laughter. My aunts, my uncles, even Melissa. They were all laughing at me, at my dream. I looked at my parents, begging with my eyes for them to say something, to defend me. My dad just stared down at his plate, a faint, embarrassed smile on his face. My mom patted my arm. "They're just teasing, honey," she whispered, but her voice was hollow. They weren't just teasing. They were telling me what they really thought. I was a joke, a clown, a failure in the making. That night set the tone for the next few years. Every family gathering became a trial. "Still unemployed, Alex?" Melissa would ask, with a sweetness that was sharper than any knife. "How's that pro gamer thing going? Made your first million yet?" Austin would jab, to everyone's delight. My dad's favorite line, usually after a couple of beers, was, I just don't get it. A boy with your brains, and you have no ambition. No ambition. That one always stung the most. From my perspective, I had more ambition than all of them put together. They were happy to follow a map. I was trying to hack my way through a jungle with a machete. It just wore me down. Their constant negativity was like poison. I started to doubt myself. Was I delusional? Was this all just a childish fantasy? There were nights I'd stare at my reflection in the dark screen and see what they saw. A loser hiding from the real world. That feeling of being an outsider in your own family is a special kind of lonely. But then, something inside me would shift. The hurt would curdle into anger, and the anger would harden into resolve. Every condescending laugh, every dismissive comment, it became fuel. I made a promise to myself. I wasn't just going to prove them wrong. I was going to make my success so loud it would drown out the memory of their laughter. The next 3 years were a blur of discipline and sacrifice. If my family thought I was just goofing off, they couldn't have been more wrong. My bedroom became my training facility, my sanctuary, and my prison. The world outside my window basically ceased to exist. My daily routine was brutal. I'd wake up at 8 a.m., not to a commute, but to a self-imposed training regimen that would make a drill sergeant wince. The first 2 hours were pure mechanics. In Vanguard protocol, aim is everything. I'd spend 120 minutes in a training module practicing flick shots, tracking targets, and mastering spray control until my wrist ached. After that, I'd spend hours reviewing VODs, recordings of my own games, and pro matches. I wasn't just watching, I was studying. Breaking down every decision, every rotation. Why did they push then? Why did they fall back here? It was a constant, obsessive search for perfection. Then came the scrims. 8 to 10 hours, a day of practice matches against other aspiring pros. This was where theory met reality. It was a chaotic symphony of callouts, frantic commands, and split-second decisions under immense pressure. My evenings were spent with more VOD reviews, analyzing my mistakes from that day's scrims. I'd finally fall into bed around 2 or 3 a.m., my mind still racing, only to wake up 5 hours later and do it all over again. My life outside the game just evaporated. Friends stopped calling because I always said no. My diet was mostly instant noodles and cheap energy drinks. I took on freelance data entry work I could do in the middle of the night, earning just enough for my internet bill and groceries. Every spare dollar went into upgrading my gear, a better mouse, a faster monitor. I remember one low point where my power was shut off for 2 days because I had to choose between the electric bill and a new graphics card. I chose the graphics card and spent those 2 days at the library downloading VODs so I wouldn't fall behind. There were so many times I almost gave up. The isolation was suffocating. I'd see pictures of my old friends living normal lives, and the doubt would creep back in. But then I'd remember my uncle's laugh, Austin's sneer, my father's look of disappointment, and that fire would ignite all over again. They thought this was a game. I would show them it was my life. The first breakthrough was small, but it felt massive. An online tournament with a $500 prize pool. I played out of my mind for 16 straight hours, and I won. That $500 felt like $1 million. It was the first money I'd ever earned from gaming. It was real. That small win got me noticed. I was invited to try out for a semi-pro team on the verge of breaking into the majors. I made the cut. For the first time, I had teammates who shared my obsession and a coach who got it. A few months later, we clawed our way into the professional circuit. I finally signed my first real contract. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was a salary for playing video games. I remember calling my mom, my voice trembling with excitement. Her response was lukewarm at best. "Oh, that's nice, dear," she said. "Does it come with health insurance?" The next year, my team, Nexus Ascent, became a dominant force. We moved into a team house in California, a state-of-the-art facility. In my parents' house, my gaming setup was a source of shame. Here, It was the centerpiece of a multi-million-dollar operation. We climbed the global rankings, leading up to the one that mattered most, the Vanguard Protocol World Championship. The prize pool was $10 million. The finals were in a sold-out stadium in Seoul. The energy was insane. Tens of thousands of fans screaming our names. As I sat on that stage, I thought about that Thanksgiving table, about being 19 and feeling so small and alone. And now, here I was. The finals went to a nail-biting 5-game series. It all came down to the final round of the final map. It was a 2v3, odds against us. In a moment of pure instinct and thousands of hours of practice, my teammate and I pulled off a flawless play, winning the round, the match, and the championship. I just remembered the explosion of sound, the confetti, my teammates piling on top of me. We were world champions. As I stood there, hoisting that massive trophy, my share of the prize money, after taxes and the org's cut, was just over $2 million. My life had changed in an instant, but the real change was just around the corner. The week after the championship was a blur. Media interviews, sponsor meetings, messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. I finally got back to my apartment, exhausted but floating. I was planning to just order a pizza and do absolutely nothing for the first time in forever. That's when my phone rang. It was Mom. My heart did a weird little flutter. Throughout the entire tournament, I'd gotten a single text from her. Good luck. That was it. No, I'm so proud. No, we're cheering for you. Just, good luck. A part of me, the part that was still that kid desperate for their approval, hoped maybe this was it. Maybe now that the money was real, they'd finally see. Maybe this was the apology call. I was so wrong. Alex? Honey? My mom's voice was way too cheerful. Hey, Mom, it's me. Oh, good. We were just calling to see how you are. We saw you on the sports news. That was something. Something. Not amazing, not incredible, just something. Red flag number 1. We made some awkward small talk. She asked if I was eating enough. I wanted to say that for the first time in my life, I could afford to eat whatever I wanted. I could hear my dad and Melissa in the background. Then she said, "Hold on, your father wants to talk to you." There was a fumble, and then my dad's voice, even more fake cheerful than my mom's, came on. Alex, my boy, the champion. I stiffened. He had never, ever called me my boy. Hey, Dad. Listen, son, we are just so proud of you. We always knew you had it in you. We were just, worried. A parent's job is to worry. But you sure showed us, eh? The hypocrisy was so thick I could barely breathe. Always knew I had it in me? This was the man who called me ambitionless. My hand tightened on the phone. Right, I said, my voice flat. Anyway, he barreled on, we're so glad we caught you. Your mother and I have been having a bit of a tough time. He launched into a long story about the house. Leaky roof, cracked foundation, rising taxes. He painted this bleak picture of how much stress they were under. I listened in silence, knowing exactly where this was going. And it's just all become too much, he said, his voice taking on this pathetic, pleading tone. But then, we saw you on the news, with that big check. And your mother had this brilliant idea. We found this perfect little house online. It's a new build, single story, so your mother won't have to deal with stairs. It's in a beautiful neighborhood. He paused for effect. I said nothing. Well, he finally said, his voice dropping to a whisper. We were thinking, now that you're set for life, family helping family. We were thinking that maybe you could help us out with it. Help you out? I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. Yes, exactly. I mean, we saw the prize money. It's millions. What's a few $100,000 to you? A drop in the bucket. You could just buy it for us. As a gift. For your old man and your mother. A drop in the bucket. A gift. The sheer audacity of it knocked the air from my lungs. My mind flashed through the last 5 years. Eating cold ramen, taping my headset together, staring at a bank account with $17 in it, spending Christmas alone while they were all together, probably making jokes at my expense. All the hurt, all the anger, all the resentment I had used as fuel came roaring back. But it wasn't hot. It was an ice-cold, crystal-clear rage. A house, I said, the words barely a whisper. Yes. Can you imagine, Alex? All our problems solved. You could do that for us, couldn't you? His voice was wheedling, confident, like it was already a done deal. I took a slow breath. Dad, I began, my voice steady, empty of all emotion. Do you remember Thanksgiving 6 years ago? A confused pause. What? Son, what does that have to do with anything? Don't bring up the past. Oh, I think it has everything to do with this, I said. You and Mom sat there and let Austin and Uncle John laugh in my face. You let them call my life's ambition a joke. I looked at you, Dad. I begged you with my eyes to step in, and you just stared at your mashed potatoes. Now, Alex, that's not fair. We were just worried, he sputtered. No, you weren't worried, I shot back, my voice rising. You were embarrassed. You were ashamed. Family doesn't do that. Family supports. Family shows up. I could hear my mom in the background, her voice shrill. He's being ungrateful. Let me talk to him. The phone was passed. Alexander, she said, her voice sharp and scolding. I don't know why you're being so difficult. This is about family. After everything we've done for you, you owe us. We're your parents. Oh, you? I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. I owe my success to 14-hour practice days. I owe it to teammates who believed in me when my own family didn't. I owe it to every night I went to bed hungry to pay my internet bill. Where was family then? The only calls I got were from Melissa, asking when I was going to get a real job. As if on cue, Melissa yelled in the background, "He does owe you. He's always been selfish." The absurdity was overwhelming. They'd completely erased their years of mockery and created this story where they were the long-suffering parents who deserved a cut of the prize. I let them talk for another minute, a mix of entitlement and guilt-tripping. It was then that I realized the small boy who wanted their approval was finally gone. He'd died somewhere in the lonely grind. When they finally paused, I spoke, my voice calm and final. I've been doing a lot of thinking, I said slowly and clearly. The first thing I did was hire a financial advisor and an accountant. They specialize in sudden wealth, and they've given me some very strict advice. I let that hang in the air. They told me my number one priority is to protect my capital, to make smart, secure investments for my future, and the future of the people who genuinely supported me. My first investment, I continued, is a trust fund for myself. My second is helping my teammate, the one who won that final round with me, pay off his mother's medical bills. My third is a donation to a foundation that helps up-and-coming esports talent, so other kids with a dream don't have to go through what I did. Complete silence. So, to answer your question, I said, delivering the final blow, no, I will not be buying you a house. I will not be giving you a single dollar. This money, it's mine. I earned it. And in a way, I have you to thank for it. Every time you laughed, you gave me another reason to keep going. So, thank you. You've already made your contribution. I heard a choked, sputtering sound from my father. You ungrateful brat, he stammered. What you did, I interrupted, was teach me that blood is not always thicker than water. You've changed, my mother whispered, her voice trembling with rage. This money has turned you into a monster. No, I said softly. This money didn't change me. It just gave me the freedom to be who I always was, without needing your approval. And with that, I ended the call. I blocked their numbers. I blocked Melissa. I blocked Austin. I sat there in the quiet of my apartment, and I didn't feel angry or sad. I felt light. A huge weight had been lifted. The revenge wasn't flaunting my wealth. It was claiming my peace. It was the quiet satisfaction of closing a door that should have been closed a long, long time ago. It's been 6 months since that phone call. I haven't spoken to my parents or my sister since. I hear things through the grapevine. I heard they had to sell the house after all and moved into a small apartment. I heard that Austin didn't get into the top-tier law school he wanted and is blaming his lack of family support. I guess a part of me is supposed to feel guilty. Society tells you to care for your family, no matter what, but I don't. I feel at peace. My life now is everything they told me it couldn't be. I have a career I love that challenges and fulfills me. I've built a new family. My teammates, my coaches, my friends in the industry who saw my potential. These are the people who check in on me, who celebrate my wins and support me through my losses. They are my real family. My success didn't just give me financial freedom, it gave me emotional freedom. The freedom to define my own worth and build my own life on my own terms. The greatest revenge isn't watching your enemies suffer. It's living a life so full and happy that their opinion of you becomes completely irrelevant. My success doesn't just speak for itself. It has silenced their mockery forever. And that is worth more than any prize money. And now, I have to turn the question over to you. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have bought them the house? Or would you have done the same thing I did? Let me know your honest thoughts down in the comments. I read as many as I can, and I'm genuinely curious to hear what you think. If you have a similar story of being doubted, I'd love for you to share it. There's a strange comfort in knowing you're not alone. If you are invested in this story, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to hear more, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for listening. And remember, your dreams are valid no matter how much anyone else laughs. Let your work speak for itself.